We just want to have some information about your personal background, but kind of intellectual background and history and how you got involved in analysis.
For sure. I began my working career as a school teacher. I was a teacher originally of English. I'd done a degree in English literature, very strongly in the Leversite tradition, which is what all literature teaching is, or was at that time in Australia. I became interested in the mass media and the teaching of such as a way of getting an edge in my teaching rather than simply reworking existing literary texts. And I went on a series of courses that were run by my colleague Barry McMahon. That stimulated sufficient interest that I then went and did further postgraduate study in the area of media studies. I then worked for a number of years as what we call a consultant in media studies, which means you tour around the state advising other teachers on how to teach the area. After doing that for 4 years, I then left and went into the higher education area, and I'm now a lecturer in media studies.
Media stories in Australia, it's been established now for how many years, and what does it look like?
In Western Australia, it's been established in schools now for 15, 16 years, to a greater or lesser extent. I mean, it hasn't been uniform in all schools, something happening, but overall about that amount of time. It's also established in schools in all of the other states, every state of Australia, although not for such a long time as in Western Australia. What does it look like? It's changed over the years. It began with a much stronger hands-on practical bent. It was seen that the way in to teaching kids about the media was to let them produce their own materials, then analyse their own works. That's changed a bit. There's been a lot of forces changing that. One of the simplest forces was economics. As more and more students took up media studies, you couldn't have a camera or a reporter pack for all the students. Another force changing that was a pedagogical one. There was a worry that much or some of the hands-on activity really didn't lead a long way. It was a good creative experience for the students. They enjoyed it. The atmosphere was nice, but where was that hard critical edge about what they were doing? So that was a force for change as well. Increased education of the teachers changed that. When we began, teachers were given their conceptual framework in media studies really as a short package. They'd spend 5 to 10 days with Barry and I in what was called an in-service course, and we tried to cover the whole lot in that time. That has largely changed. People are doing either their undergraduate courses in media studies or postgraduate work in media studies. In my own state, teachers can be trained quite specifically as media studies teachers.